Hello friends, welcome back. I want to start off by saying I hope you had the most wonderful Christmas with your loved ones, making new memories and celebrating the birth of our wonderful Savior. But now that Christmas is behind us, I do want to make a few changes here in our home, just in a couple areas. One of the things that I really enjoy doing is transforming our Christmas tree into a New Year's tree. And I think I'm also going to go ahead and create a quick tablescape to go with it. I have been super excited about every holiday this year. As most of you know, Ronnie spent last year away from us. He was on deployment. He's an Army chaplain. So this year, having everyone home has been extra special. And so I'm trying to put even more special touches into each and every holiday that we're celebrating together this year. So I'm hoping you will come along with me as I try to transform these spaces to ring in the new year. Let's go ahead and get this one started. Okay, the first thing I wanted to do was to get these little crowns painted and glittered up. So I took them outside, grabbed my paint and glitter on the way out and went to work. I wasn't exactly sure how they would take to paint, but they did great. And a real life Adina moment, I painted, sprinkled with glitter and turned them right over to do the other side immediately, because if you know me, I want to do things in 5 minutes or less, and my painting techniques lack any type of skill. Now that I am back inside, I am going to start with a few paper crafts that I want to add to the spaces. So for starters, I am going to be using one of my favorites, book pages. I did cut the pages down just a little, but I don't have the exact measurements. They are just under a 5x6. But depending on what size you want to create, I think you could use just about any size of rectangle. Now, the first step is to fold them in thirds long ways. Then the next is to fold that in half, and the last fold is to bring one side of the top down, forming a triangle, and that will be cut off in the end. Okay, I did get my first folds done and then had to go back and put a strip of glue down because I was in folding mode and totally forgot my glue. So here I am just simply putting a strip of glue and gluing that last flap down. Now we're on to our next fold, which is folding these strips in half, and you are going to glue once again, just putting one small strip down the middle of your page and gluing that down. Now your last step is to fold one corner over to create a triangle of sorts. And what this is doing is just creating a crease that you can follow to cut that piece off. Now, if you don't need that crease, then I would say don't even worry about doing that extra fold because it is an extra step. If you can remember just to start at the corner and then go down on an angle with your scissors, you can get that done without that extra step. But here, once I get these done, I will begin to add glue to these as well. You're just making one stripe down the center and then stacking all of your pieces. Once you get that done, you'll have one last stripe of glue in order to glue it all together, and this is what you end up with. Isn't this just amazing? I think they are so cool, and I love adding paper to all kinds of things. You know that already. I am going to go ahead and try and make some gold ones. Now this paper, For lack of better words, it kind of had a plastic coating on it. So I did use my glue stick, but ended up going back and using my hot glue gun to make sure that it stayed together. It was harder to fold, so if you're not really wanting to mess with that, I would say stay away from that type of paper because that plastic coat does make it a lot harder to work with. But in the end, it was very pretty and worth the effort this time. But I don't know that I would use it again for this craft. Moving on to the dining table, I want to add a runner that will cascade down the center and onto the floor once again. So I am using this material that can be found at Hobby Lobby. I am using 3 yards that have been cut in half lengthwise, which is the perfect width for our table. Now this material is normally $7.99 a yard, and you can find it on sale for 30% off, which brings down the price significantly, but still gives you the elegant look of velvet at the same time. Next, I am going to use the second set of black branches my mother-in-law sent me by adding them to an urn for the centerpiece of the table. I am loving these branches. They are battery operated and bring in that perfect glow on a timer. So they are just perfect for so many reasons. I love them. And I just thought of something that I want to do. So I'm going to go back to the counter and do a little bit more crafting with some paper. I found a small top hat at Walmart for 70% off. I think it may have been part of a Halloween costume, so I grabbed that up and I'm going to be using it today to add to my centerpiece on the table. But I do want to embellish it, so I'm using book pages. For the top hat, I simply rolled and glued together some cone shapes, added a pinwheel, and then finished it off with a button. But then I did feel like I wanted to add in one more element, so I chose to do a small banner with the words Happy New Year written across it, and glued that in place as well, making sure to add in a few twists and curls to add to the embellishment of it all. Now I knew I wanted to incorporate a clock with some fairy lights, so I grabbed one from Ronnie's office and it ends up working perfectly under the cloche. And for added height, I am setting it atop of one of my risers once again, which ends up being the perfect spot to prop my little hat on. For the other side of the table, I did decide to bring back some of my apothecary jars to balance out the vignette with glass on this side as well. And then I set off to embellish a party hat with some of that cute pom-pom trim that I will incorporate onto that side to balance off the hats. This next little trick is something I want to share with you. It is what I do when I am too lazy to be creative on my own, but I do think it is a great hack if you are not comfortable using your own penmanship. Now, I am simply searching for an image of the numbers 2022 that I like and can be easily traced onto a piece of paper. I can then use my markers to make it match the rest of my decor. And being I am going to be cutting this out and gluing it to a black background, I used another little trick and simply colored in the middle sections with a black marker so I didn't have to bother cutting out those smaller areas. I then cut around the numbers, glued it to the black piece, and cut around that, leaving a small frame of black, and will hang that on the branches as well. Now on to my tree decor. I love the idea of a New Year's tree. And this year I am just adding to what is already on the tree, so I don't need much, but I do like the idea of incorporating parts of Ecclesiastes 3 this year. So I chose to do more paper banners. Once I get them cut out, I can begin writing out the scripture parts and placing them onto my tree. For the first banner, I began with a time for everything. I thought that was the perfect place to start, and then just added in a time to love, a time to laugh, a time to dance, a time to heal, and a time for peace. And that is the way I want to enter the new year, on a positive note. I want to be encouraged by His word. For beyond those few promising words, the Bible tells us that He is always with us. I know that times get hard, and I completely understand there is another side to each of those banners that I made, but I want to stay focused on the good in hopes that it will come true. We all have had to endure some pretty hard times the last few years, and the weight of the world is sometimes just too heavy to bear. So I choose His word to focus on this year. My next step was to add in some of our clocks from around the house. So I grabbed most of them from Ronnie's office and this one from the wall here in the living room and set them in place before I incorporated any more of my banners because I didn't want them covering up the clocks. So I thought that was the best way to go, and then I'll go back to creating more of my banners. Now, as the norm, I am using my everyday penmanship, and then just to enhance it some, I am going back and thickening every downstroke. And I also decided to kind of twist and turn the ribbon down the tree, and so in able to see each word, I did write on both sides of the paper, and I felt like it just flowed down the tree very nicely and gave it more of an elegant look that way. So I'm hoping that was achieved. I know I love it, and so did Ronnie, but I think these are the perfect words for our New Year's tree. Now, the last thing I'm going to be working on for the tree are a few of these top hats that I've had. I found these at Party City and figured I would go ahead and keep with the theme this year and embellish them just a little. For the first one, I made a Happy New Year banner and then added on some of those gold glittery stars from Hobby Lobby. The next one, I did go ahead and add some of those paper cones to it. And I did do a third one by adding on some of that beautiful music note paper and placing my second piece of 2022 on there. Placed them on the tree and called that good. The last thing I did was to add in my chalkboard to the table, using it as a tray once again to house some of the items that will help us ring in the new year. All right, friends, I am going to call this one a wrap and the last video of 2021 for me. But before I do, I want to thank you all for the amazing love and support you have shown me and my little channel over the last year. You have given me the gift of encouraging words, heartfelt love, and smiles to last a lifetime. My eyes have been filled with tears over your thoughtfulness, and you have helped me shape graceful living into what it is today. You have become my friends and the community I am forever grateful for. I appreciate each of you more than words can say, and look forward to spending the next year with you as well. Have a happy new year, everyone. Remember to stay safe, be blessed, and I will see you next year.